This year is dedicated to the father of an alumni who passed away this week last year. She was our only alumni who ever did 4 years in the Midrashah. And father was a wonderful man, Maxim, and passed away. She's an English girl who passed away this time last year from Corona, actually. He's a wonderful man, a doctor, and so this is in his memory. We are dealing with the Parsha of the Akedah. We have some very interesting sources. The Akedah is very challenging for us. So let's just start, okay? Perek Kaf Bet. ויהי אחר הדברים האלה והאלוהים נישא את אברהם ויאמר אליו אברהם ויאמר הנני. God, Elohim Nisa, we're about to discuss Nisa, what Nisa means, what the word means. People would translate it as tested, but that's not necessarily the literal translation. Vayomer Elav Abraham, and God says Abraham, Vayomer Hineni, he says here I am, Hineni. Look inside at the Midrash. Hashem Tzadik Yivchan v'Rasha v'Ohev Chamas San'a Nafsho. God will examine a righteous person, and a wicked person and a corrupt person, or a person who loves corruption, is the hate of his soul. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says as follows. Hapishtani hazeh, this flax seller, listen to all three examples. Kashepishtano lokeh, when his flax is no good. Eno mekish elav biyoteh, he doesn't put a lot of pressure on it. Mipnei shehi pokat, because it will break. Ukashepishtano yafeh, but when his flax is healthy and strong, hu mekish elav biyoteh, he will put a lot of pressure on it, smack it a lot. You know, the flax is the kind of stuff that you find etrogim in those boxes. Lama shemishtabacha v'olechet, because strong flax, the more you hit it, the stronger it gets. Kach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says the Midrash, this is the same with God. Eino menaseh et haresha'im, he doesn't challenge the wicked. Lama she'en yochelin la'amod, because they can't deal with it. They can't meet the challenge. Dichtiv v'harashim k'yam nigrash. Ve'mi menaseh, who does God challenge? Et hatzadikim, the righteous. Shne'emah Hashem tzadik yivchan. God challenges the righteous. Vayehi achar hadvarim ha'ele v'tisa eshet adonav. Vayehi achar hadvarim ha'ele amar Rabbi Yonatan hayotzer hazeh, another mashal. This man who is a creator, כשהוא בודק את הכבשן שלו, when he checks his ovens, אינו בודק את הכלים המרועיים. He doesn't put the weak vessels into the ovens because they will just break. שאינו מספיק להקיש עליו אחת עד שהוא שוברו. The minute he puts it in the oven, it's going to break. ומה הוא בודק? So what does he put in the oven to check the oven? בקנקנים ברורים שאפילו מקיש עליו כמה פעמים אין השוברו. Strong vessels that however many times he puts it in the heat of the furnace, they will not break. כך אין הקדוש ברוך הוא מנסה את הרשעים אלא את הצדיקים. God does not challenge the wicked, only the righteous. שנאמר השם צדיק יבחן. אמר רבי אלעזר, לבעל הבית שהיו לו שתי פרות. Third example, now we have the flax, we have the oven, and now a third example. To a בעל הבית who has two cows. Echad kocha yafeh, ve'echad kocha ra'ah. One is a strong cow and one is a Amihu noten et ha'ol. Upon which cow does he put the weight? Aloto shekocha yafeh, on the strong cow. You look at this midrash, there are three exactly identical examples. One is the example of the flax, one is the example of the furnace, and one is the example of a cow. But the Malbim points out that they're not three identical examples. V'hinei hanisayon. Yeah, the challenge, I don't like the word test. Challenge is all tzorech hamenaseh, is all for the need of the person posing the challenge. All tzorech hamenuseh, all for the person being challenged. All tzorech haroim, all for the purpose of the people who are watching. Three possibilities, right? And each of those examples in the Midrash is talking about a different possibility. But with, he gives the example, Aleph, someone who knows that his flax is good, he thrashes his flax. Because this betters the flax gets better. The more it is challenged, the more it is refined. The harder the struggle, the better we become. Mashal lepara shekocha yafeh shenoten alea ol. With the cow, he puts a weight on the cow. And this is for the person who's doing the challenge. He needs to move something from point A to B, so he uses the healthy cow to do it. And what's the third? The person who puts the vessels in the furnace. This is for the people to see how strong the vessel is. So the Malbim has excellently explained the Midrash. He's dealing with three facets of any parsha which in life which is a challenge, or it's for the person posing the challenge, in this case God, or it's for the person being challenged, in this case Abraham, or it's for the people who are reading the story, in this case us. Now go to the Ramban. Va'elokim nisa et Avraham inyan hanisayon hu ledati. What is a test? Nisayon, a challenge. Ba'avu heyod ma'aseh adam reshut muchletet biyado, because man has free choice. Im yirseh ya'aseh, im lo yirseh lo ya'aseh. If he wants to do it, he will. If he doesn't want to do it, he won't. So yikre nisayon mitzad hamenuseh. So for the person being challenged, it's a real test, right? Every single day, every single time, a challenge is placed in front of me. It's for me. Will I fail or will I pass? Aval hamenaseh yitbarach, the God who is the tester, yitzaveh bo hadavar min hakoach lahotzi min hakoach lapar. Why will God do this? Very often in our lives we have a potential. It's a potential that isn't realized. We have an ability to do something, but we don't do it. It's one of those damning comments of a teacher in a report card. Has a lot of potential, which generally means you've wasted your time. You could have done something else, but you've wasted your time. I had this experience once. It was my last smicha exam. I did all my smicha exams in Hebrew, and I sat down in front of my last paper with Shabbat and Eruvin. I turned over the paper and I saw that I could answer all the questions. And suddenly I lost all my cheshek to do the exam, because I knew I could pass. And a lot of the challenge fell aside when I knew the answers. I don't know whether you've had that experience. The only time I ever had that experience. And then I had to say to myself, you've got to write the exam. Because if you don't write the exam, the potential will not be fulfilled. There are thousands and millions of people walking around the world saying they could have done this and they should have done that. But they didn't. And because they didn't, they didn't. They could have, but they didn't. And they are looking with envy at a lot of people who did, because they did. So the Ramban says people have a choice to do something. God wants to help us realize that potential. Because unless you realize that potential, unless you actually do it, you didn't do it. You did nothing. You can walk around for the rest of your life and say, I could have been a doctor, but you aren't. You aren't. You're just a secretary somewhere doing nothing because you didn't. You have a potential, and if you don't realize the potential, it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. So יצווה בו להוציא הדבר מן הכוח אל הפועל, להיות לו שכר מעשה טוב, לא שכר לב טוב בלבד. We don't want to live our lives with a good heart. We want to do a good action. We want to do something. To say you did it. ודע כי השם צדיק יבחן כשהוא יודע בצדיק שיעשה רצונו וחפץ אז יקרא יצווה אותו בניסיון. So, and this is also a Pandora's box. When God knows someone can do something, he will test him in that way. Which, if we invert it, means that the Ramban is saying, any challenge that comes your way, you can do, because if you can't do it, God wouldn't challenge you. You won't take a 5-year-old and give him a pure math exam, and then scold him for not passing. Because there's no havamina that this 5-year-old is going to pass a math exam in pure math. There's no point. So says the Ramban, if he knows that the person has the potential to do it, he will challenge him to do it. He's not going to challenge someone who's not going to do it, who doesn't have the potential to do it. And says the Ramban is Kovea, Kol hanisyonot shebetorah letovat hamanuseh. All of the challenges in the Torah, and I want to extend that further. Every challenge we have in our lives is for our own good, even though it doesn't always feel that way, right? Now, Rabbeinu Bechai. This is such a massive sugya, right? So it's worth looking at the Rishonim. So Rabbeinu Bachai is going on this angle of what people see, to see where religious commitment can get you. What Avraham Avinu did the Akedah. Ki aval gimel chalakim, because this love of God can be divided into 3 sections. Ha'echad, מי שאוהב את המלך ומתוך אהבתו יספר בשבחיו ויפרסם מעלותיו תמיד כל היום ויודיע לכל את גבורותיו. Someone who loves the king will praise him on a regular basis to everyone. אבל לא היה חוסה ממונו כלום בשביל אהבתו, but you're not going to lose money on him. You love him to a degree, but you're not going to spend money on him. You're not going to invest in him. השני, a level up. מי שאוהב אותו יותר מן הראשון, someone who loves him more than the first, יספר בשבחיו וייתן כל ממונו בשבילו. He will talk of his praises and also invest enormous amount of money. אבל לא ימצא עצמו למיתה, but he's not going to die for him. השלישי, the third level, מי שאוהב אותו יותר משניהם, someone who loves more than the other two, יספר בשבחיו, he will praise him. וייתן כל ממונו בשבילו, he will give all his money. וימסור עצמו למיתה, and he will die for him. I remember, I would say 26, 27 years ago, maybe, I don't think I was even in charge of the school. I think I was just teaching, and I was teaching the Akedah. I used to teach Chumash, and I was teaching the Akedah, and one of the girls said, you know, this is just surreal. This doesn't happen. And I remember saying to this girl, what are you talking about? Jews have been giving their life to God since the dawn of Judaism. And not like Yitzhak, who didn't die. Jews have been dying for Judaism with the words of Shema Yisrael on their lips. I spent a lot of this morning preparing. We have a parents' trip to Poland next weekend. Preparing stuff, going back to Tikachin, back to Lupachova, and remembering how people walked with babes in their arms, praying to the lost. A person is prepared not just to love God, not just to lose their money for God. While Yimso at smaller mita is prepared to die for God, to die for their belief. Abraham had all three. האחד סיפר בשבחיו של מלכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ופרסם אלוהותו וייחודו בעולם. He taught the world, spreading God's word. Abraham megayer et ha'anashim, v'Sarah megayeret et ha'anashim. Rashi at the beginning of Lech Lecha. הנפש אשר עשו בחרם. כי עניין שכתוב ויקרא שם בשם השם אל עולם. לפי שאנשי דורה היו נתונים הנהגת עולם אל כוכבים המזלות. והוא היה מדריכם בדרך האמת. Like we spoke about last week. אחד היה אברהם. He was Avraham HaIvri. They all believed in the stars and the moon, and Abraham was spreading the word of monotheism, of God. לפי שאנשי דור היו נתונים הנהגת עולם והוא היה מדריכם בדרך האמת ומודיעם מנהיג יחיד שהוא אל עולם. Okay. השני, skip a line, השני, פיזר נתן לאביונים. He gave lots of money out for the sake of God. He was a rich man, בשביל אהבת השם יתברך. שהיה בעל אכסניה ופתחו פתוח לכל עבר ושם. He owned a hostel and his door was open for anyone who came. וכן אמרו במדרש, דלת פתחים היו לו לביתו של אברהם, היו לדלת רוחות העולם. He had 4 entrances to his tent, to the 4 corners or the 4 directions of the world. וכל מי שנכנס בפתח זה יוצא בפתח אחר. Anyone who came in from here went out in another direction. Over the page, the bottom of the page, Hagimel, the third, Masarat smaller mita. We know that Abraham was ready to give up his life. Over the page, Kashehu shlach lekidshan ha'esh ha'kedushat Hashem. When he was thrown into the furnace at the end of Parashat Noah, al panei aviv terach aviv. And the Midrash shows us Abraham almost died for his beliefs. ולפי שהשיג מדרגה אהבה ועבר גימול החלקים קראו השם יתברך אברהם אוהבי. Because Abraham did these 3 things, he was the absolute definition of the lover of God. He was known as Abraham Ahuvi, Abraham my beloved. No one else is known in that phrase. So what's the Akedah? What does the Akedah add? This is Rabbeinu Bachai. אבל בעניין זה של העקדה הראה אברהם תוקף אהבתו בשם ברך שהייתה חזקה ועזה. But this is unmitigated love. This is absolute love. אין להעריך אותה. You can't even compare it עם 3 חלקים הנזכרים, with the 3 levels I just discussed. ואין לדמותה למי שמוסר עצמו למיתה בשביל אוהבה או בשביל הדור. You can't even compare it to someone who's prepared to die for someone that they love. כי ראוי היה אברהם אילו היו לו 100 גופים למצוא את כולם למיתה על יצחק. He would prepare to die 100 times rather than kill his son. אבל פעולה זו לא הייתה קשה הפעולות. והניסיון הזה לא היה קשה הניסיונות. This was not like any other action. This was like any other challenge. אין הטבע יכול לסובלו. You cannot understand the challenge that we have here, and it's a challenge that we face all of the time. Your imagination doesn't even work with this. That there would be a person, a car. Have you ever met a person who can't have children? You ever met such a person? You've seen a page? And the woman and the man, they can't have children. Everyone else has children, they can't have children. You ever see such a thing? It was a terrible thing to see. Akar v'zaken ben 100 shana is 100 years old, barren. V'lo osher v'nechasim v'chavod, and he has a lot of money. V'haya mitaveh levein v'tachlit hatava, and all he wanted was a child. He's got wealth, but all he wanted was a child. V'haya lo bein acha hayush, he had one son after that. Haya ra'ui lachshov tokef hava chazaka levein ahu. Imagine the love he has for that son. ותכפל האהבה יותר ויותר לסוף שנה ממה שהיה בין 80 ימים. And after 8 days, when he does a brit with him, how much more he loves him. He welcomes him in, ideally, into this brit with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. ותכפל ל5 ו10 שנים יותר ממה שהיה ביותר בין שנה שכבר היה מגודל המבחין בין טוב ורע. When this boy follows in the path of his father, even more pride. ותכפל האהבה באותו קרוב ל40 שנה הוא הזמן ששכלו של אדם עומד על השלמות, and he's now 40 years old, 37 years old, and he's seeing his son coming into his best. וזהו יצחק שהיה בן ל"ז שנה בזמן העקדה. That was Yitzhak, 37-year-old prodigy. ותכפל יותר ויותר כי שווה לשחוט הבן הזה, הוא בעצמו, and then God says kill him. The God who told you he would be your seed. The God who told you that your people will be like the stars of the heaven and like the sand in the sea. The same God tells you to kill the son. How many Jews have lived this contradiction? The same test of Avraham Avinu. But you promised. The man who was promised the land of Israel, who's told, leave your homeland and go to Israel and you will be great. And when he got there, there was a famine and he had to leave. Understand the Avot and the Imahot, what a hard life they had. Outside of all the cartoons and the stories you hear. What a difficult life to be promised by God. Leave your home. Leave everything. And when you get there, you will be wealthy and everything will be good. And when he gets there, there's a famine and he has to leave and go to Egypt and take his wife. Ribono shel olam. והאהבה הזאת אין דבר בעולם ראוי לעוברה, ואברהם מתוך שהיה שלם באמונה עם אויות הפלגה, אהבתו על יצחק הכיר כי ראוי שתתגבר אהבת השם ברך אהבת יצחק. And unbelievably, with all the love that he has for his son, his love for God is even greater. ולחוזק כוח הפלגת האהבה החזקה הזאת שהייתה לו לאברהם בשם יתברך הייתה נפלאה בעיניו אהבת יצחק וביקש לשבתו אחר 3 ימים שנאמר לו הדבר. And not only did he do it, he did it after 3 days. It wasn't an instinctive, intuitive action. God told him to do it and then left him to deal with his thoughts for 3 days. And you can imagine what thoughts Abraham had during those 3 days. What questions he had over 3 days. He didn't just go from the commandment to Hara Moriah and try and shecht his son. He had to walk around for 3 days thinking about this, contemplating what is the philosophical mashmot of a God who tells you to kill your son when I've spent my entire life fighting paganism and telling people that this isn't a way to worship a God, that we don't do this. And then the God who you said was different tells you to do what you've told everyone else that you don't do. What a mess! What a mess! Spent my whole life telling people to do something in the name of God. Spent my whole life telling people this isn't my religion. My religion is something else. And then the God you believed in tells you to go and do exactly what you told everyone else you don't do. This is above the love for his son. The philosophical contradiction. You can't believe what kind of storm must have engulfed the mind of Avraham Avinu. כאילו יעשה כן בפתע פתאום במקומה הייתה פעולת המימון והלה, because Mele, if he did that, had to do it in 1 minute. You could say he wasn't thinking, he was confused. אבל כשהיה אחר מהלך 3 ימים כבר נסע ביישוב עדה בעיסה. If he's walking around for 3 days with this in his mind, you can imagine what cholent is going on in his mind, cooking for 3 days. והוא שאמרו בבראשית רבה, למה ביום השלישי ולא ביום הראשון ולא ביום השני? Why on the third day and not on the second day and not on the first day? שלא יהיו אומות העולם אומרים, הממוי ברבו והלך לשחוט את בנו. He was confused and he just went and he did it without thinking. No. You had plenty of time to think. Plenty of time to make an excuse. To rationalize away. על כן עשה הפעולה ההיא ממש בידיים, ומה נבחן במידת היראה ובמידת האהבה. Final paragraph, וידוע כי הידיעה בשם יברך בכל הזמן, that God knows everything. Normally when you test someone as a teacher, the purpose of the test is to reveal things you don't know about the student. Like you just don't know, but God knows everything. אבל פירוש הדבר, like the Ramban, ידוע מעתה כי יצא מן הכוח אל הפועל, is to realize something, is to turn it from a potential into a reality. The amount of potential in this room right now is enormous. What will be the reality is entirely dependent on the people in the room. No one else. None of us, ladies, I believe, want to be people who never did anything, and never achieved anything. All of us, I believe, want to be people who have realized the potential. I've used our time. I'm not talking about this year, I'm talking about life. Have stared life in the face and done something with life. There are those people in the world who always need to shluf. They always need to rest. They're always exhausted, they're always tired. Do you honestly think that the achievers in the world are not tired? Do you think they don't want to rest? What differentiates the achievers from the failures? The achievers do it anyway. They get up anyway. They come again and again and again and they try more and more and more. That's the only difference. They're not less tired. They don't need less sleep. They've just prioritized realizing potential. Abarbanel. And the Abarbanel quotes the Rambam. So extra concentration for the Rambam, more in the Bukhim. V'kvar zecha harav hamoreh. Harav hamoreh is the Rambam, right? Why is he called Harav hamoreh? More in the Bukhim. Okay, so he's known as Harav hamoreh, the Rambam. הלימודים המועילים שלמדנו ממעשה העקידה. What do we learn from the Akedah? Ha'alef, which we've already mentioned. כמה היה גודל אהבת אברהם לשם יברך, how much love Abraham had for God. שלא די שעזב את אביו בארץ מולדתו ומשפחתו במצוותו. It's not enough that he left his home. ושמסר נפשו לחולי המילה. And at the age of 99, he did a Brit Milah without an anesthetic. At the age of 99, וסכנו בזקנתו לקיים דברו, וגירש Ishmael, and he had to remove Ishmael from his house when we know he didn't want to. Chapter 21, the chapter before, right? When Ishmael is disturbing the education of Yitzhak and Sarah wants him removed. Just as Rivka wanted Esav removed. Just as the brothers wanted Yosef removed. And Abraham doesn't want to see his child kicked out of the house. And then God says to Abraham, everything that Sarah says, Shema b'kolah, you have to listen. Ishmael was his prodigy, right? Asher ahav. Ela shegam Yitzhak shenitan lo b'ziknoto lichol amito. And now after all of those things, what a life! He thought for a second, what a life! He left everything behind and go, patriarch after matriarch after patriarch, and go through their lives. Pasuk by pasuk. These people weren't walking around with XP12 iPhones and in big cars and no, they suffered and struggled. You ever thought about David HaMelech? He lost 4 children. 4 children! And he wrote Tehillim. You ever read Tehillim properly? He lost 4 children. 4! And he wrote Tehillim. Unbelievable. Our leaders struggled in their lives. That's what makes them who they are. Mipnei mitzvato, just because God commanded him. ומזה נדע היכן הגיע אהבת השם ויראתו, כי הנה עניין זה שעשה אברהם לא גרמו לו לא נתינת ממון ולא נתינת נפש, כי הוא מופלג מכל מה שאפשר שיהיה מצוות. There was no gain that he could make from sacrifices, not physical, not financial, nothing. He did it but for the love of God. והלימוד השני, the second thing, says the Rambam, is איך האמינו הנביאים במה שיבואם מהשם יתברך בנבואה שלא יחשב אדם שהיו מסופקים כלל בדבר. God didn't speak to Abraham like he spoke to Moshe. Only Moshe, God spoke to Moshe mouth to mouth, when Moshe was awake. Every time God spoke to Abraham, it was in a dream. You tell me, ladies, you have a dream that you've got to take your son and Shechtin. Would you maybe have a doubt that that's a dream? Now that's a legitimate dream. Would you perhaps think that maybe this wasn't a nevuah because my religion doesn't push sacrificing sons? He just had a dream. He believed his nevuah. He didn't say God doesn't really mean it. That's not what he said. שלא יחשוב אדם שהיו מסופקים כלל בדבר שיראו. Had no doubt whatsoever. אבל היה דינו אצלם כדין העניינים המושגים לחושים. It was like God physically spoke to Abraham. והראיה על זה, היות אברהם מסכים לשחוט את בנו יחידו, שאהבת נפשו עבור כאשר ציווה עליו. He just does what God says him. He doesn't have a doubt, not a second's doubt that maybe I misread the dream, maybe it's a misinterpretation. Nothing. He just does what he's told. How many times do we look for kulas, we look for leniencies and heterin because he didn't even have a shulchan aruch. He just God came to him in a dream. Maybe I misread it. Can you come to me again? Nothing. He just did it. וישכם אברהם בבוקר. ואף על פי שבמצווה היא בחלום או במראה הנבואה. אילו היו הנביאים מסופקים בדבר שיעשידו במראה הנבואה, לא היו מסכימים לעשות מה שימנו מהטבע כמראה הגדול הזה. And if they had any doubts, he would definitely not do something that is against his nature. Why would he do it? וכמו שהעריך הרב בזה, דברי פי חכם חי. וראוי להוסיף עליהם, and I want to add further, says Rambam, עוד לימוד שלישי, a further לימוד. יורה עליו עניין הקדה, והוא אמונה השירות הנפש ושכרה רוחני. The belief of a future world, the belief of the soul, the belief in the soul. שאילו לא היה אברהם מאמין אמונה קיימת בשכר רוחני, לא היה מסכים לשחוט את בנו היחידו. If he didn't believe that there was an afterworld, if there was a world of souls, he would never have agreed to kill his son. כי אין ספק כי הוא לא עשה הדבר הגדול הזה מפחד השם יהרגהו וירשהו, כי מה חפצו בחייו ואשרו אחריו שבנו הירש, אותו יהרגהו בידיו, אבל הייתה תקוותו בלבד שכר נפשו. The only thing here was a spiritual schar that he would get from me, שיגיע אליו אחרי מותו. Next line, אם כן, הנה אם כן, והאלוהים ניסה את אברהם מעניינו שבמעשה הזה שסיברו לעשות, כיבדו וגדילו ועשו דגל ונס. So instead of translating האלוהים ניסה, God tested, what is the other translation for nes? Now we know nes is miracle, right? But why is a nes a miracle?
A sail.
I can't hear?
A sail, like for a boat.
That's what nes is, right? Nes is to elevate. Is that what you said? To elevate?
A sail for a boat.
A sail for a boat, correct. But why is it a sail for a boat? Because you lift it up so you can see the boat. It's elevation. When a nace happens, God is elevated. If people pay attention to the nace. If people pay attention to the nace, God is elevated. Hailokim nisat Abraham, God elevated Abraham. God made Abraham a sail. He made him a flag to a boat. The whole world, the whole religious world, ladies, the whole monotheistic world, if it's Judaism, if it's Islam, and depending on how we interpret Christianity, everyone sees Avram as the father of monotheism. Everyone. Universally. והגדילו ועשו דגל ונס לכל העמים, כי אם היות שלא היו שם בני אדם בשער העקדה, even though no one was there. He was in the top of Har Habayit, right, just here. No one was there. It was just Avram and Yitzchak. אבל אחר שהעיד עליו הקדוש ברוך הוא בתורתו, and you know that the Muslims don't deny the Old Testament, and the Christians don't deny the Old Testament, and the Old Testament says that Avram did it, so he did it. Enough, he did it. We believe a lot more shtuyot than that. All the Muslim world, all the Christian, everyone agrees that Avram did the Akedah. God made it known to the world. וכל בני אדם מודים ומאמינים באמיתת הסיפור הזה. Everyone believes this. It's a Rambam, ladies, it's a Rambam. כאילו בעניינו ראינו המעשה הזה כי נורא הוא. ולכן התחייבנו ללמוד ממנו. So we have to learn from it. ולהתדמות. Try and emulate. לעבוד את השם בכל לבבינו ובכל נפשנו כמו שעשה אברהם. To worship God in a total way. The requirement here isn't that every one of us reaches the madrega of Abraham. That's very difficult, if not impossible. It's this total immersion in service of God. ואפשר לומר עוד בפירוש הפסוק הזה שבעבור שהיה פועל העקדה דומה לניסיון לבחינה רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא ללמדנו שלא לעשות את אברהם באלוהים. God didn't come to test Abraham. He says, ויהי אחר הדברים האלה, רוצה לומר, אחרי שעברו כל הדברים שנזכרו מפרות אברהם, Abraham had already passed every test, he'd already graduated. Abraham had graduated, he was a proven yid. מהשגחת השם ברוך עליו בתכלית מה שאפשר לטוב ושהאלוהים כבר ניסה את אברהם. An incredible perush. God has already, this is the perush of the words at the beginning, והאלוהים ניסה את אברהם. God has tested Abraham already. The point of the Akedah isn't to test Abraham again over the page. ונודע לו יושר לבבו ותום שכלו וניקיון כפה הנה אחר זה, after all of the tests, קרא שאמר לו יתברך קח נא את בנך ידך וזה הטעם באלוהים שהוא מוסר על עניין הראשון. אחר דברים, after everything God went further in order to show off Abraham to the world. Go to Rav Yosef Nechemia Kornitzer. Rav Yosef Nechemia Kornitzer was the chief rabbi of Krakow at the beginning of the 20th century. His son, Rav Shmuel Kornitzer, was the chief rabbi of Krakow when the Germans walked into Krakow in 1939. He actually went to the Germans to try and negotiate certain conditions for the Jews. The Germans took him to Auschwitz and killed him and burnt his body, sent the ashes back to the community and made them pay for it. I've seen his grave. I've seen the ashes. And Rav Yosef Nechemia Kornitzer is a Doresh B'Chesed Elyon. My Rebbe, Rabbi Bernstein in England many years ago, introduced me to Rav Yosef Nechemia Kornitzer, this Parshanot. And I don't know many people who learn Rav Yosef Nechemia. So we're going to learn Rav Yosef Nechemia. Those of you who come with me to Krakow, I can show you in the left-hand corner of the Ramah synagogue, there is a board of commemoration there. And the entire Kornitzer family is there. Rav Shmuel's wife, Perel, she escaped to the Warsaw Ghetto and was killed. There were survivors from the family. But he writes as follows. Rav Yosef Nechemia died, I think, already in 1933. ויהי אחר הדברים האלה ואלוקים נישא את אברהם וקח נא את בנך את ידידך שאהבת עליהם לעולם. ובמדרש רז"ל, Chazal say as follows, מה אחר הדברים האלה? After what things? אחרי הדברים שנאמרו למעלה וייטע אשל בבאר שבע. What's the perek immediately before the Akedah? Abraham has a peace agreement with פיחו שר צבאו של אבימלך. נראה הכוונה בזה כי כל מעשה אשר יעשה אדם מפאת שטיבו וחפץ לבבו ינהו לעשותו. But we work according to our nature. We do things according to our nature. לא ישובח ולא יגונן. If we do things according to our nature, we don't get credit for it. If I like doing things and I do them, that doesn't make me a tzaddik. Someone once said to me, oh, you teach so much Torah, what a tzaddik. I said, number one, I'm not a tzaddik. But if I was a tzaddik, it's not because I teach, because I like teaching. When people like learning. I like teaching. If I'm a tzaddik, it's all the other rubbish I have to deal with in my office. That's the other stuff. It's the things you don't like to do that make you a tzaddik, not the things that you enjoy doing. I'm not a tzaddik because I like teaching. I'm not a tzaddik at all. But if I were, it's because all the other interesting things that come to my desk on a daily basis, hourly basis. So he goes to the Gemara in, what's Pashat Techelet? Pashat Techelet is the Gemara in, where it sits in the Gemara. Which Masechet? Menachot, okay? Pashat Techelet, Rav Katina Eshkechele Melacha. A Malach appears in front of Rav Katina. Amale Anashito Aseh, and he asks him, do we get punished for not doing a mitzvah taseh? Amale in Be'idan Ritcha. At a time when you are full of energy. V'adavar yiplemod, I don't understand this Gemara, he says. Ha'ish. If a person does something which he wouldn't do if he wasn't angry or excited, to keep a mitzvah taseh, which is based on activity, on initiative. It's not like an issur, right? An issur is in your face. Do this issur. No, I won't do the issur. To do a mitzvah, you've got to stand up and do it. You've got to take initiative. If you don't do it, you didn't do it. You didn't fulfill a potential. You didn't do anything wrong. You just didn't fulfill a potential. I don't put tefillin on tomorrow morning. I didn't do anything wrong. I just didn't do something good. So it's much less severe than me going out and having a cheeseburger. I've actually done something wrong. I need to do an action. And tzitzit isn't a mitzvah. A person doesn't have to wear tzitzit, right? If I don't have a four-cornered garment, I don't have to wear tzitzit. The Torah says if you have a four-cornered garment, you have to wear tzitzit. What do? We make a four-cornered garment so that we will be able to wear tzitzit. But if I didn't wear this and I wasn't wearing it, I wouldn't have to wear tzitzit. And I wouldn't normally wear a four-cornered wool garment because it just makes me hot. The only reason I wear a four-cornered wool garment is in order to fulfill the mitzvah of tzitzit. So in order to fulfill the mitzvah of tzitzit, I have to take initiative. I have to go out and buy a piece of clothing that I would normally never buy and wear it in order to fulfill the mitzvah of tzitzit. Why should I be punished if I didn't do that? If I didn't take the initiative and go to a store and buy a four-cornered garment in order that I be going to the mitzvah of tzitzit, why should I be punished? I just didn't do it. And if such a person didn't do it, it's his nature. He's just a lazy person. But if a person is an angry person, is an energetic person, is an enthusiastic person, then he normally takes the initiative. And therefore, if he didn't go out and buy tzitzit, it's against his nature. His nature is to go and do things, and then he will be punished because he's working against his nature. When a person does what he wants, לאסוף רכוש, הנ"ל קל כנשק, ורק במקום שנוגע לרדוף אחר המצווה נעשה קל. Normally you do everything, you've always got the initiative, you're always first in line. We have that, right? We have girls always the first here at quarter to one, always the first here. Are they the first in the Beit Midrash? The first ones to get out of here on a Monday night to go and get a pizza. Are they the first ones in the Beit Midrash? Always on time for the meal with a friend. You on time for share? That person says, Rabbi Yosef, that's a different story. Because your nature is to do certain things, and when it comes to mitzvot you don't, then you're worthy of punishment. Because your nature is to do things, and you don't. More than anything else, not punishment, it tells you a lot about yourself. When a person says, I'm too tired, but they can watch a film for 3 hours. And the nausea disappears. And the sickness is gone. And the reaction has non-reacted. Because I've got to see the film. What about coming to share? Oh, no. I can't. No, I need to rest. I'm resting. The doctor says I'm resting. How many people are cured on a Monday night? Are able to overcome the advice of the doctor to rest on a Monday night? But on Tuesday morning, something I ate. As for us to deal with our own contradictions, something I ate, something I did, I don't know. So this, he says, is a parish of the Gemara. You'll be punished for a mitzvah taseh if you're enthusiastic and energetic. So for the whole of your life, you're enthusiastic and energetic. When it comes to a mitzvah, you get lazy. Now that takes effort, right? This is against your nature. והיינו בעידן ריתחא, פירוש בשעה שנמצא אדם רותח מתלהב לפעול ולעשות בסמכי עצמו, הרי כי איננו עשה בטבע, אם כן בצדק מגיע לו עונש. So if a person is always energetic, is always enthusiastic, always doing things, and when it comes to a mitzvah, I can't do it, I got a headache, I got a this, I got a that, then there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Because it's not your nature to be lazy. Where's he going? Let me explain to you what he's saying. If the nature of a person is to do something and they do it for a mitzvah, it's not a big deal because that's what they always do. We get a little sod here into the avot and who they really are, and maybe a bit of an insight into the reality of Yaakov. Well, that's really why I want to bring it to you. The essence of Avram is love. The essence of Avram is love and kindness. Think about the things that God asks Avram to do. Go and fight a war to release Lot. Throw Lot out of the family. Throw Yishmael out of the house. Kill your son. Everything Avram was asked to do was not his nature. If it had been his nature, it would have been such a good thing. His nature was loving kindness, and he was told time and time again by his God to act opposite to his teva, to his nature. Now, why did I want to bring this to you? Because as we go through to Yaakov, it comes up time and again in the Beit Midrash. Girls are looking into, okay, I'm stopping until I have your focus. Shall I call out names to get your focus? Shall I call out names? It's harder for me to give shir than it is for you to listen. Promise. Promise. When we get to Yaakov, one girl after another will come up in the Beit Midrash and say, this is Yaakov, he tricks his brother for a bechor. This is Yaakov, he dresses up for a bracha. This is Yaakov. That's exactly the point Rav Yosef Nechemia is making. because Yaakov's nature was to be true, the fact that he kept being challenged with sheker is just an underlying emphasis that he was a truthful person. A liar isn't challenged when they're told to lie. It's not hard for a liar to lie. There are loads of liars, different types of liars. People who tell stories, people who make up episodes, and people who look you in the eye and lie to you, to your face. And for them to lie isn't a challenge. For someone who is emet like Yaakov, to lie is a massive challenge. And we see that just as all of Avram's challenges challenged his kindness, so if we see that every story of Yaakov is dealing with sheker, you can see that Yaakov must have been a man of truth. Otherwise, why would there be challenges for Yaakov? And if you follow through in our small little group in the Tivot Shalom, you will come across many times in the Tivot Shalom where he says a person is challenged in the area where they are weakest. That's where the challenge is. You're not challenged to do things you want to do, because you're going to do them anyway, and the challenge falls aside. Over the page, ladies. I want to go to the second source over the page, a remarkable comment by Rav Zevin, which I'll explain outside. And each person do with it what you want, but it's an incredible observation. An incredible observation. Rav Zevin points out that at the beginning of the Parsha of Vayera, Avraham Avinu invites guests into his house, right? We know that they're not human beings, right? We know that they're angels, because the Torah tells us they're angels. Avram doesn't know they're angels. Avram gives them food. Do angels eat food? No. When I give an angel food, am I physically doing anything good? No, it's all an optical illusion. They put food in their mouth, it just dissolves. I don't know what happens to it, but they haven't got a stomach. They haven't got it doesn't go through into their stomach, they don't digest it, they're angels. So essentially this incredible act of kindness that Avraham Avinu does at the beginning of the parasha was his intention. He didn't actually do it. If you come to my house, if you're brave enough, and I give you food, and we discovered something exceptional last week, that I was helping my dad with something, so I couldn't make the cholent. So my little one, my 15-year-old, she said, Abba, she phoned me, Abba, can I make the cholent? I said, Bavakasha, make the cholent. I haven't got time. I won't get back till midday, and I've still got learning. And she made a wonderful cholent. So let's say you come to my house, we give you a wonderful cholent, and you're hungry students, and you benefit from the cholent. It's tasty. So there's some nicer, right? You get benefit from my action. Avram thinks he's feeding people, but he isn't. Go to the end of the parasha. Avram is told to kill his son. Avram is prepared to do it. Does he do it? No. No. He doesn't do it. As he's about to shed his son, the angel says, stop. He doesn't do it. Isn't this an incredible observation? We have a massive act at the beginning of the parsha and a massive act at the end of the parsha. But they're not real acts, they're intentions. Avram did something, and he didn't really do it. What does this say about us? Many, many times, we do good stuff, but with wrong intention. And we're very proud of ourselves because we've done something, but we never had the intention to do it. And there are other times when we really want to do something, and the reality b'shetach doesn't allow us to do it. Rav Zevin says that's also important. When you're talking about a human being, whether things happen or don't happen isn't entirely in our hands. Our intention is critical. Abraham intended to feed people. As far as the parsha is concerned, he fed them. He intended to offer up his son. As far as the parsha is concerned, he offered up his son. Everyone talks in that way, as if he offered up his son. This is very important for us, ladies, because everything that we're doing, we do so much lip service and so many actions without kavanah. And here we've been told, mitzvot shlichot kavanah. Kavanah is more important than anything else. Your intention is more important than anything else. And sometimes you won't succeed, but you tried. You tried. Trying is the most important thing. The only thing I've ever told my children is, and I've told them time again, and I'm sure your parents have told you, I'm not bothered if you pass an exam. I'm bothered that you try. You try. Sometimes you get incredible pride. I have a son who flew to New York with Shalva to do a marathon yesterday, ran the whole marathon in Manhattan. We saw pictures of him at like 8 o'clock last night. Going through that, it's quite easy, the marathon in New York compared to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is very hilly. I think it's pretty flat in New York. I think it's like the park, a lot of the park. I don't know. He didn't seem flustered. I don't do it because it upsets the Kenyans when I go and I win every time. They get very upset. They say, we come from Kenya and every time you get the gold medal. And so I don't do it anymore. My son does 40K, my wife does 10K, and I'm okay. I'm okay. I do sometimes walk a couple of kilometers with my flag in Jerusalem. The intention, ladies, the intention. You intend to do something. You try. It's about trying. Life is about trying. That potential we spoke about realizing is realized when we try. We don't always get what we want. We don't always get the result we're looking for. You can sit in a Beit Midrash for 3 hours and break your head over something and then go to the Shuir and think you got it right, and then Rav Shames reads it the other way. Rav Ben is always going to read it the other way, but Rav Shames is reading the Gemara Pshuto, he'll read it the other way. And you'll say, how did I read that Gemara the wrong way? I got nothing. Rubbish! You got everything from it. You tried for 3 hours. You tried. We can but try. If you don't try, you have no excuse. When you stand in front of Ribono Shel Olam after 120 years, if you don't try, you don't have an excuse. If you tried and failed, you've got every excuse in the world. But if you don't try, and go back to what he said at the beginning, we're tested on things that we can do. Yes, they're hard, but you've got to try. We have been misled by modernity. We think that everything in life you can put your finger on a screen and it happens. And it does not. Ask any married couple if there's an application for happy marriage. Ask any married couple if there's an app for bringing up children, for building a family, for making a living. There are no apps for this. Don't be misled by the 21st century to believe that you can press a button and it will happen. Not Chabad.org, not nothing. You want to learn Hebrew, look up every word in a dictionary like we did. Like we did. Every single word in a dictionary. Find the root and find out what the word means. Try. Try and you will always get something from it. You put your finger on a button, you don't get anything. Don't be misled. That's not what it is, ladies. We need to try. It's such a special message. Avram did all he could to feed the angels. Did he feed the angels? No. He did all he needed to do to sacrifice his son. Did he sacrifice his son? No. But the Torah thinks he did. The Torah says he did. That's massive. That's massive. It is one of the most wonderful sentences. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Just keep trying. Failure should just egg us on to try harder, to do better. That's all we can ask of ourselves when we look in the mirror. Is, did I do my best? And the answer to that question, only you have. We have more sources here, but I'm going to run out of time. So we'll leave it over here.